It's the Wrestling Caucus. I'm Peter A. Smiley, this is where you come in. Make sure you subscribe on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I don't care where you listen as long as you're listening. YouTube as well. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at the Wrestling Caucus. More specifically, actually, Twitter at Wrestling Caucus. The rest is the Wrestling Caucus. And I think professional wrestling definitely ties in a lot of, it's an amalgamation of different forms of entertainment, be it music, a live concert setting, and sport. But there's one realm of the entertainment world that pro wrestling definitely connects to very well, and that's the video game world. You know, it's video games, especially from at least the most famous ones from WWE, have connected to wrestling fans and gamers alike. Gaming websites report wrestling now, which is strange to me, but it's the world we live in right now. And today we're going to talk about, great wrestling games that we've played, some that we've, at least for me, have kind of overlooked, and or games that I've always wanted to play and never gotten to play. And I guess the most famous brand, the 2K series, like where that's going, and what WWE can do to kind of freshen up their gaming franchise. And we brought Elton back to talk about this because all three of us love the wrestling games, even some we love more than others, but we just love the idea of wrestling games. So today, gentlemen, I want to start by talking about some of the wrestling games, or at least the first few wrestling games that you've played and you've just loved from the start.
Well, the very first wrestling game I can think of ever playing was Smackdown versus Raw, the very first one. Yeah, actually, I kind of for a while with WWE games, I kind of went backward. Like I started with Smackdown versus Raw, then Here Comes the Pain, then Shut Your Mouth, and then Just Bring It. That's the order where I played those first few games, and that's like the earliest memory I have. Like way before I found out about Fire Pro and all these other wrestling games that exist.
What about you, Elton?
The first wrestling game that I ever played was the question, or like which ones I first got like really, really into?
Yeah, both of them, both.
The ones, the first one that I ever distinctly remember playing was World Tour on Nintendo 64. The first one I ever, my mom bought me, was Revenge, and that's still to this day probably my favorite one on the Nintendo 64, aside from Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which is what I just recently got into, but we'll probably talk about that later. As for me, it was definitely Revenge and No Mercy were, I guess, the two that I played the absolute most. But then when I got my PS2, the first two games I got was Tony Hawk 3 and Just Bring It. And I never played at that point the Smackdown games because I only had an N64 as a kid. So getting used to that whole control scheme was really, really interesting. It worked so well. And then Shut Your Mouth, though, I probably clocked in the most hours out of any PS2 wrestling game on, because that game was flawless in my opinion. The story mode, everything. But I would say definitely Revenge, just because that was on the AKI engine, which is considered the best, like the premier way to play wrestling games on in the 90s, because that was really what perfected the control schemes.
What was the first game that had that engine?
I don't know if Virtual Pro Wrestling 1 or World Tour came out first, but I believe it's one or the other. I'd have to look into it, but that was the engine that was the most simple to master. However, it gave you new opportunities to do new things. Like it introduced strong grapples, the more fast grapples, the harder hits and the softer hit. Like you felt like you were more in control of your match. And also it introduced a legitimate reversal system that some people don't like. It's because I think that a lot of us who grew up with because for us, we mainly grew up with PS2, PS3, Xbox 360. Those reversal systems were a whole lot more easy to master. It kind of got to a point where if you got the animation time down, you can reverse anything that you wanted in those games.
Yeah, it took time getting used to I'm mainly used to like the one button reversal games, like the with the trigger.
That's how that was as well. But the thing was that you also had to pay attention to how damaged your wrestler was, where the momentum was swinging in the match. There was always a momentum meter and all that. Well, they called it the spirit meter in the AKI games. And yeah, I don't know. Those are the first games to ever incorporate those things. Like I said, a perfect grapple system, a perfect strike system, grabbing weapons out of the crowd, stuff like that. Those were really groundbreaking, those AKI games. And but for me, like I said, personally, Revenge, I mean, No Mercy is like the holy grail for a lot of people. I completely agree. It's
Oh, that was one I
if
never
someone's
played actually.
that to me is just if someone told me No Mercy is better than Revenge, I wouldn't argue it. It's basically the same game but with WWF and added weapons and stuff, because I think you could do like ladder matches and stuff in that game, which Revenge doesn't have, nor does Virtual Pro. But I think that they all have their strong points. I wouldn't say they have any weak points, to be completely honest. But all right. Anyway, like I said, Revenge and Shut Your Mouth are definitely the two that made me fall in love with the genre in general.
Yeah, so like with me and Michael, we grew up. We had PS2, you know, especially when we started to play more wrestling games. And the first game, I got SmackDown vs. Raw as a gift, and then I went and bought Here Comes the Pain because I remember kids at school would talk about it, and I just went and picked it up, and I fucking loved it because I loved the roster was incredible. You had a bunch of different types of The Undertaker. You have at the time he was on the motorcycle, and you can unlock the old school mid '90s Undertaker. They had George Steele, which is random. Sergeant Slaughter, Ultimo Dragon. Who else? Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, and all those guys. Eddie Guerrero and Benoit and all those guys, and Jericho, of course. Steve Austin, The Rock had a crazy roster. The season mode was simple and it was very interesting, and the storyline was great. They kind of took you on this, similar to like Steve Austin and McMahon kind of storyline. You're like the quote unquote rebel, and you have to, kind of overcome Vince McMahon's, whatever he's doing to you or whatever. And, you go to WrestleMania, that's like the climax, and it's very interesting. You have to work your way up. You're not just thrusted into the world title picture. You have to, you have to win matches and then go to the IC title level, and then you work your way up to the main event. And the lower card, the like, let's say if you're playing as, let's say, Ultimo Dragon, for example, it's going to take you a long time to get to that World Heavyweight Championship level because of the way the game ranks you, which is sort of kind of biased, because when you think of Ultimo Dragon, it's like he's on the level of like Kurt Angle and Lesnar in the wrestling world, but in the video game, it's like, yeah.
I forget he was even in the company. Like people remind me he was in WWE. I forget he was even there. Like I can't tell you one, honestly, and I'm a big Ultimo Dragon fan. I can't tell you one match he ever had there. I can't think of one. He was at Mania 20, I think, but it was probably in a fucking 40-man scramble. But seriously, though, I have no idea. Like
a cup of coffee he was there for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure he, made it. It was probably just for him to say he did it, because he's like the definition of a journeyman. He's been in like every fucking company that you can think of, pretty much. So
they usually have a lot of like Japanese stars. Like they kind of like are there for like a little bit, and then like they don't really do much with them. Like not all of them, but like Ultimo Dragon, like Tajiri. I remember like the main event, like one of the main event programs that Tajiri had was with Hunter, right? Like, and he got like pedigreed, and
he had a main event. Wait. All right, hold on. Wait.
He wasn't any main event storyline to Jerry.
Oh, okay. Yes, because
no, he was like he was in the cruiserweight division, and then he got moved to Raw in like early 05, but he was never in any kind of main event position. But anyway, that's another podcast. But what Elton was talking about, like grappling system and reversing, like Shut Your Mouth had a very difficult reverse system. Like it was, you had to guess what kind of move that they were going to apply to you. You had to press square and a certain direction on the D-pad. If they're doing a strong grapple, you have to like memorize what the reverse for the strong grapple is. It takes some time to getting used to, but it's still it didn't ruin the game like at all whatsoever.
No, absolutely not.
I sucked at all.
It made it more
I still had a
balanced.
blast. Like
I think it kind of balanced things out because, like I said, like one of the things I love about the AKI games was, like, all right, unless you're one of those people who fucking clocked in hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and that's all that you did was play Revenge and No Mercy and Virtual Pro. It was hard to master that grapple system, and to me, it made the playing field more level, I guess. Fire Pro as well, because there is no real reversal system. You just have to be kind of smart to your opponent and where the match and the momentum is going. But yeah, the shut your mouth, the controls to shut your mouth, though. I mean, aside from the somewhat broken reversal system,
I wouldn't say it's broken. It's just complicated.
Yeah, it's not broken. Yeah, I agree. It's not really broken. It's complicated, but that control scheme where there's a groggy grapple, there's like I said, the quick grapple, the grapple from behind. I don't know. It made it so easy to pick up and play, and really sink your teeth into quickly because anyone can really get into it. And it was great because there was a time where when wrestling games first started, where they were kind of trying to mimic fighting games. And to me, the Smackdown series was I might be wrong on this. Well, aside from the AKI games on the PlayStation, I mean, the Smackdown series was the first game to actually feel like, for WWE, I mean, where it doesn't feel like a fighting game. It feels like a wrestling game. And there's a clear distinction between the two. Like, there's games like Backyard Wrestling, for example. It feels like a fighting game. It feels like a very gimmicky fighting game. I love that game. I think it gets way too much flack because, I mean, look, it's a silly.
Awesome. Like, I don't know anyone who gave that flack.
Oh no, people hated it. People fucking, oh my god, people thought it was garbage. They consider it one of the worst wrestling games of all time. It's not a wrestling game. It's a fighting game, and it's fun as hell.
It's a good way to look at it.
So much fun. Ugh. Very underrated.
Speaking of which, what are some games, wrestling games, for lack of a better term, I guess wrestling games or games like Backyard Wrestling that are kind of underrated and underrepresented in the wrestling gaming world?
Day of Reckoning. I mean, I know it's a WWE game, but I think that it's not talked about nearly enough.
That's ridiculous because Day of Reckoning is awesome. Like, it's very, very unique. Like, it stands out amongst a lot of those games.
Who talks about Day of Reckoning? It's weird to me. Like, no one really talks about that game. Like,
it got really good reviews, both of them.
Yeah, they did.
There was a sequel. I have no idea.
I have one of them. I don't know if I have one or two, but well, I don't even have anything to play it on. But
it was only on GameCube, wasn't it?
Yeah. I would play it on my Wii with a GameCube controller. But one of the things about the challenge was really, really there. Like, one of my favorite things to do in that game was pick Paul London and wrestle a guy like Kurt Angle or something, because it was so fucking difficult to beat him, and it was just a blast because you would really, really feel like you're in an epic battle. But I don't want to talk, like, when you ask that question though, like underrepresented, I don't really want to talk about WWE games. I would say a game like underrepresented. That's actually a good question because the game one just came to mind that sucks. Do you remember The Simpsons wrestling?
Oh yeah. Oh my god! I always like the art style of that game, but that's pretty much about it. Like, I don't remember playing it that much.
Oh man, that game was trash. It combines my two favorite things in the world.
That's only for people who love The Simpsons. That's it.
Oh my god!
I saw it at a flea market a long time ago, but I never bought it.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's what you call a cash grab. The Simpsons was at the height of its popularity. Wrestling was at the height of its popularity. Why not just put them both together? It's like it made no sense. The
product integration.
Yeah, I
Couldn't you
rented
put
it.
anyone through a table in that game?
It was wacky. Like you could play like Bumblebee Man versus Bart, and it's like what the hell? Like it was really bizarre.
I mean, it gave you that choice. Like, because Simpsons has a lot of characters, but like, it's not for
You
that
know
kind
what?
of game, I
Let's talk
guess.
about backyard wrestling because when you look at the roster for that, they had wrestlers. They had a lot of
I'm
deathmatch guys, and of course ICP. That's probably like for me the selling point of the game.
they were
It's
on the
kind of
cover.
like yeah, like that's the first time I've seen like flaming tables in a video game. Because
For light tubes.
back in the day, yeah, back in the day, G4 they would talk about games like that, and they would give the wrestling games or games like Backyard Wrestling like pretty solid reviews because they're good games. I've never played a Backyard Wrestling game. I want to, but that game was interesting because the roster of it, you can't play as any of those guys in any other game, to my knowledge.
I I can list you because I just briefly looked it up. I can list you the because I'm looking at the roster to Backyard Wrestling One. This is so bizarre. They have so many weird people in here. See, Backyard Wrestling 2, I believe, was the one with the really ridiculous roster, like where like it was like a shockingly big. Yeah, here we go. Like there's ICP, Madman Pondo, the Rude Boy, who was big in JCW. I think it's Shaggy Two Dope's brother, just in a mask. Vampiro, New Jack, Sick Nick Mondo, Ruckus, the Sandman, which is oh no, he was in the ECW games. Those games were awful. Sanjay Dutt, the masked horn dog. I think that's just something they made up. El Drunko, which is me. I had a few shots. Supreme, John Zandig, uh, Luke had. There's a few people who I think they just kind of picked out of thin air. Ryuji Ito, which is from BJW, which is kind of cool that
Whoa!
he's in here.
Holy
Yeah, like that's kind of interesting.
You know, you
Um,
you listing this bizarre roster. I hate to cut you off, but you listing this bizarre roster is just reminded me of one of my favorite games. Like, and I gotta ask you, do you think this counts as a wrestling game? Def Jam, like the Def Jam series.
yes, I think so.
Oh my god!
I think
Like
it's a
that
wrestling game.
that game like introduced me to like every rapper I listen to now, like Method Man, Redman. Like it had such an incredible roster. Like it had like every like Exhibit, freaking like
Red
oh
Man, Method
Yeah,
Man.
oh
man.
my
Yeah,
god.
that
How did
was
that
like
game not
Urban
have
Wrestling
actually
Federation, but in a video game.
They they dropped the ball though in the PS3 Xbox 360 era because I don't know if anyone even remembers there was a third Def Jam
yeah,
game.
Def Jam
It's just that
Icon. It had no
yeah,
No one
HUD, like
cares. No one talks
it was all
they
glitzy, but it wasn't fun.
yeah, it was very swaggy. Like Fight for New York, it was like rugged and like you had to
Classic.
like beat up Method Man or something. Here you have to fucking look at Cameron and it's like
Oh
oh,
my
fuck this.
god.
This
Fuck
isn't
that.
my
Like I'm
You have
sorry.
to beat up
Come on.
in the Fight for New York. You have to beat up Snoop Dogg, who's a top heel, and you have to save either Lil Kim or Carmen Electra.
Yo,
Oh yeah,
they
speaking of
should make a new one now and just put like Meg Thee Stallion, like Cardi B, Rhapsody, like all of these like Jean Grey, like all these underground. They should put like every rapper in it. Like if they made one now like that, like if that was funded, that would be like the best game like ever.
The underground
what's
sensation Cardi B.
Oh no, no. I'm not obviously I'm not saying
Yeah, I
she's
know. I'm fucking
underground.
with you. I'm fucking with you.
Underground sensation. Well, she didn't come from the underground, so
I'm looking at this roster. Andrew WK was in Backyard Wrestling.
What?
I had no idea.
Kidding?
That is awesome.
Holy
I had
shit!
no idea. Holy shit.
Oh
He must be an
man,
unlockable. I don't remember him, but I think that game's underrated though. People crap
so
on it. I think they
underrated.
crap
I'm
on it.
like,
They
why?
they crap on it because they go in with the expectations of a wrestling game. You're getting a ridiculous fighting game. I mean, like there's like even the arenas you can fight in. You can fight at construction sites. You can fight in a fast food joint. You can fight
What?
in an office. Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be wacky and fun, but I think people they kind of take the like. I feel like if that game came out today, people, and like on an indie level, like where it's like just a downloadable game for like $20, $15, people would fucking fall in love with it. I
I've been
feel
playing that right now.
I loved it. I mean, I bought it at the whatchamacallit, the video game trading post. I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I believe I bought it there, and I rented it quite a bit. And I rented it during the time where I took a massive break from wrestling between 2002 to 2005, and I don't know, like it just sucked me in. And then what was really cool, like one of the things, this is actually kind of interesting for me personally, and I bet a lot of people have the same story. Now, like I said, I took a break from watching just because just wasn't into. As a kid, I kind of feel dumb because I'm always told that Smackdown and stuff was so great during those times, and I did miss it. I never went back to really watch it. I do want to because I'm interested, but like one of the things that they had in that game was highlight reels of CZW in these indies where people would be throwing each other through glass and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck
Are you
is this?
kidding
Like,
me?
and I didn't have the internet at the time. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I didn't have the internet at the time. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it was like in my head, I'm like, this is like ECW times 1,000. Like people are cutting each other up, and you see video clips of Nick Monzo getting thrown off the roof, and it's like, holy crap! Like, this is amazing. Like, I want to watch this. What channel is this on? And then, I got the internet, and everything was explained that this stuff was only on DVD, and it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. But that's one of those things that introduced me to that whole underground deathmatch world. And it's kind of cool because I'll Google it real quick. There's a wrestling game right now that's crowdfunded. It's going to come out probably this year. Tons of deathmatch guys have signed up. Tons of guys from House of Hardcore and Impact signed up. It's going to be this independent wrestling game. I hope it's not only on PC, but I saw some clips of it.
You can always port that to consoles anyway, like if anything.
Exactly. But like I saw this one video of someone like showing the development, and there's there's this legendary match in CZW. I think it's called I remember the number. It was like the 1,000 light tubes or something, and they broke every light tube. You can do that match style in the game. Yeah,
all 1,000.
I mean, I don't know if it was actually 1,000. It was probably more like a few hundred, but like, because I feel like somebody would die if they got hit with 10,000 light bulbs or 1,000 light bulbs.
Oh my god!
But I don't know. One of the great things about the two. I'm sorry, I'm completely derailing.
No, this was about like video games and stuff. Like it's all rooted.
The failure of the 2K game this year is beautiful, and I'll tell you why.
Oh my god, the battle! I was just about to ask you about the Battlegrounds game. That game looks ridiculous. Like,
oh no, well look, I mean, look, they've good luck. That's all I can say. But
I'm not playing that game at all.
It's like the fall of Rome. It's the fall of Rome. Now there's plenty of opportunity for other developers to hopefully get some rights to make an interesting wrestling game.
Exactly. Like I encourage anyone, because now it's easy to get. It used to only be on the fucking computer. I bought this game 3 goddamn times or so. The new Fire Pro. Like, now so many people online are like, oh god, there's gonna be no wrestling game this year. What good console wrestling games are there? The first thing everyone's pointing to, not just me anymore, because I always felt like I was kind of like, I mean, people knew about Fire Pro always, but you kind of had to be like a diehard fan.
Yep.
I just found out about wrestling 2 years ago.
Like, I found out about it in 2007, and then I bought it in 2008 when I fucked up my hamstring and I was fucking home in bed for 2 weeks, and I bought it, and I'm like, yeah, this is one of, if not the best wrestling games I ever played in my life. And now, it's like back then, I know Peter knows what I'm talking about. Like, remember when I had my shit, when my friend Steve came over and he imported his save file, and I had like the TNA roster and Ring of Honor, and I had
Dragon Gate,
and I was like, Yeah, and it was like, holy shit, like this is amazing. But like, you needed like a hacked PlayStation to do it. Like you needed all this. Now, if you buy Fire Pro, all you need to do is buy it, make no, you don't even need to make an account. You just have to sign in with your credentials of whatever you bought it on, whether it's Steam, whether it's PlayStation, the what's it called, PlayStation Network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
PlayStation
can
Live,
just
whatever you call it.
yeah, you can. I think it's on Xbox. I'm not too sure, but I know it's on PSN and PC. Nowadays, all you have to do is sign in, go on that website, go to the community creations, and you can get anything. You can build a literal. It's called Fire Pro Wrestling World. You can build your own world. Like you can build your own rosters. You can archive every single wrestler that's ever walked the face of the earth almost. Like I have what like 2,000 wrestlers in my I have 2,000 on my
Including Dave
PlayStation,
Meltzer.
and I have a yeah. Oh yeah, I put Meltzer in New Japan, and he's one of the most fun to play with too. I have 5-star matches with him. Well, in the WWE games, they introduced that weird like when you play, like you have like a stars in the top left corner. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
I don't. That's such a weird system because like if you just beat someone up for 15 minutes, like it could be the worst match ever. You can have a 5-star match in the game, and you can
it's
just
really
squash
easy to have
someone
a
for
5-star
15
match. It's very easy. Like
They did that
just
in SmackDown versus Raw 2008. They would rate your matches. So if I had like a 45-minute Hell in a Cell with CM Punk, 5 stars.
yep.
Oh, I don't remember that. Well, that was one of those games like the SVR series. Man, like it took such a dip, and like '07 to me was when it was like perfected. I loved SmackDown '07.
What year did EWR come out?
The first one, I'm not sure, but the one everyone plays came out in 2003. I was gonna bring that up as well. EWR is so fucking addicting. I've been
Like
playing
what you
so
told me
much of
about
that.
that game, like what people call GM mode in a wrestling game. What you told me about that game, that's how I envisioned that game to be. But GM mode is not half as interesting or half as dynamic as that game. Like it's
G,
unbelievable.
GM mode was cool for what it was. Like I enjoyed it, to be honest. I had my fun with it. I thought it was cool. Um, I like how at the end, like okay, like all right, like you book a year of Raw or SmackDown, and then like if you win, you're basically presented with some award, but by Vince in his private plane,
What?
and he kind of
That's
he like
hilarious.
threatened, and he like kind of half threatens to fire you if you don't do this again. It's like it was so unrewarding at the end. I was like, Jesus Christ, all this fucking work and reading I had to do just to get scolded by Vince McMahon for 5 minutes.
Yep, that
But
sounds about it. That's,
EWR EWR is classic, and it's so easy to hack. Like if you want to play, like when you download it, the 2003 version, um, it comes with the O2 roster for the WWE. If you choose WWE, you could also choose Early Impact. You can choose Ring of Honor, CZW. Um, they don't allow you to choose Japan. You can only negotiate with Japan, which is one of my most favorite things because it's so hard. Like I'm trying to get Kobashi to join the WWE, and he's like, no, fuck you. Like I don't want to. I've tried to throw so many contracts at this guy in this game. They're like, absolutely not. But I love those booking simulators. And there's a new one that came out. It's called TEW, Total Extreme Warfare. It's like it's a spiritual successor to EWR, and
it's like a reboot or
apparently
like a sequel. It's like made by the same people.
it's I don't know if Adam Ryland made the first one. I don't know if he had anything to do with the one right now. I can look into it real quick, but it is apparently just as in depth, if not more in depth. I downloaded the demo and I just wasn't feeling the demo so far. But the thing is, people who really sink their teeth into it, they say it's better than EWR. So
It would be
I don't
sick if
know.
they had a wrestling game that incorporated like the element, elements of like Fire Pro and like EWR, where you can book all this whole world, but you can play the matches as you go along. Like it would be cool if it was all one experience. It was
There
all-
there's something called Fire Promoter on Fire Pro. It's an extension that you can get. I never used it, but apparently it's like GM mode, but in Fire Pro.
That's sick.
And
That's
you
crazy.
make
I didn't know that.
like you pretty much make your own. Like I said, I never played it, but from what I understand, people friggin' love it. I know that much. But from what I understand, you create your own company. You upload your own logo. Like basically, what I can do is I could call myself Paul Heyman. I can go on the Fire Pro website, download the ECW logo, just get the whole ECW roster, and I'll be like, okay, I'm ready to be a promoter. And it's like, I think that's how it works. Don't quote me on that, but
I'll check it out. That's pretty sick.
People love it. I want to try it out because I love, like I said, I love GM mode. I love EWR, stuff like that. I love those booking simulators, but EWR just hit the friggin' nail on the head.
What I like about those games is how, like, you tell me like wrestlers can like walk out on you. Like it's just like it's like an like an AI of a wrestler.
Oh, yeah. Undertaker didn't want to do business. He didn't want to put over someone, and I sent him to OVW. And then he's like, "Fuck you! I'm not coming back to work." And then
he set up to OVW. That idea is great. Send Triple H to OVW.
I sent him to OVW too.
Did he walk out as well?
Yeah, I said, "Fuck you! Fuck! Here's your release. Get out of here!" Oh man,
imagine that cutscene like in a game.
I lost so many people in that game because they didn't want to do who else? Scott Steiner didn't want to do business because like let's just say I book a match. Let's just say I book. I always hold on to The Rock. Always. I never like. There's certain people I just don't let go of. The thing is that. Well, the thing is that there's certain people, like for example Triple H. I'll book him in a great feud where he looks strong. I read the reviews and I look at the ratings, and it's like he is not a friggin' draw. His matches suck, and he doesn't want to do any favors for anyone, except for he'll lose to The Rock or something. And it's like, you know what? It's like when you begin the game, your ratings are like a 4 or a 5. I want to get to an 8, and you are basically a fucking ceiling that I cannot get rid of. Honestly, take your ball and go home, or I'm sending you to OVW.
Learn how to draw.
If you meet, it would be a sick feature if you like left your company and you formed NXT within the engine.
There's one thing you can do in that game if you worked for or just any company. So like for example, this is one thing I always do in EWR. Like I said, the year's 2003, and there's a slew of indie workers you can hire. I always hire CM Punk. Now, mind you, imagine if WWE hired these people in 03.
Oh my!
So
God.
I hire Punk, Joe, AJ Styles. I hire everyone that I know is going to be a big draw in the future. I get them over every single time. Like in my game right now, Ron Killings and CM Punk is my top feud.
That's awesome.
Like Ron Killings is about to leave for Hollywood. Like he's the Rock in my game right now.
Oh. These guys know the deal, man.
It's so much fun, and like Jericho, he ended up becoming like Rock level and all that. But anyway, so like if you want to over time, because I get scolded by the office in that game constantly because I waste way too much money. Like I hired Hulk Hogan, and they got pissed because I offered him so much money to come in.
Did you buy Blue Child within the game engine? Like, did you get the rights to Blue Child?
I wish I could. No, it's not that in depth, but everyone like everyone because you also have an inbox. I got emails from Vince. Don't tell me you hired Hulk Hogan, and it's like, oh my god, this is so fun. This is so much fun. Like you get scolded for doing things. So I don't know if anyone's unhappy. I just offer them their release. Except for right now, I think in my game Terry Funk is very unhappy, and it's like, God damn it, I need to keep him because I had a program with him and Ric Flair that drew big, and it's like, oh God. But it's one of those things where it's like, man, what an underrated game. I mean, if you're into like I said, booking simulators and all that type of stuff, and just like I said, that game's funny. That's a funny game. Like your
people making wrestling
failures.
games now can learn from games like that, or like just learn or learning how to design a book. I guess
If I was not THQ, 2K, I would hire Adam Ryland in a second because he knew how to. Like I said, he hit the nail on the head, and this was. It's 2020. This was what 17, 18 years ago that he made this game, and I don't know. It's pretty impressive to still play this game in 2020 and still be impressed by what's going on.
the
Like in the game.
authenticity, it's uncanny. Like I've never heard of a game like that.
Let's talk about the
and
Impact game because I think this is the one wrestling game that no one really talks about, but it had some good things about it. The roster, I mean, I don't know any other game outside of a WCW game that you could play as Sting. You could play as who else is on it? AJ Styles. There was no other game that had AJ Styles in it.
That's the first game that had
Christopher
AJ Styles,
Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Christian. Who else?
it was Motor City Machine Guns.
Oh, right. Yes, right. Yep.
Jay Lethal.
Yep.
You could play as Mike Tenay and Don West. It was quite a roster. It was, and Ultimate X was fun. Ultimate X was so much fun in that
You
game.
can climb the red X in that game, right?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
the game originally had more. Like I remember there were screenshots where you saw the main menu, and there was the ladder match option that didn't end up going into the final edition of the game, and it just kind of sucks because like the game had so much potential, but it was so half baked. At least to me, like there.
you can go
Like,
in for
everyone
hours
kinda-
about content in video games like that. It's unbelievable.
It was. I think it's worth a play, but it's not like at least at the time it was not worth like the full $60 price tag.
No.
The reversal system was, it took getting used to. I love the generic guitar riff that would play every time you hit it. Dun, 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 dun.
Some music.
The problem with the game was that you could be playing as you could be playing Jeff Jarrett versus Abyss. They're both wrestling like AJ Styles. Everyone had the same move.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, it was everyone had the same moves. You can, but the thing was that the graphics were incredibly good. The controls are once again very easy to master. I don't know. It was a game and it took forever to make because I don't know if you remember, they showed the trailer like in 06 or 05.
Yeah,
And it didn't come out till late 2008. And man, I don't know. I think it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it was very aesthetically pleasing too because the impact zone looked very awesome, and that's the one thing about wrestling games. Like the stage setups are just everything. Like that's the one thing the early WWE games did really well. At least for like shut your mouth until like I would say maybe I don't know. Like a lot of the late SmackDown versus Raw had pretty interesting stage setups, but then they just got very generic and bland because you just had the Raw setup for it was all the pay-per-view arenas and setups look exactly the same. But Impact, they had the Impact Zone. It was very cool. No other game had that. 6-sided ring. And some of the weapons, sequences are kind of cool. How they use the chair and you can Irish whip people into the steps and they would just kind of, bounce off it. It wasn't like that in some of the SVR games. And you can like Irish whip people into the guardrail and they would kind of just hit the guardrail. They didn't just kind of just act like it was the ropes like in the SVR games. It was a nice change of pace, but I wish they would have fleshed out some ideas more. And they never made another game because, we all know what happens with it. Yeah. So business wise, they were kind of in the in the shitter. But it would have been nice to see another game like that.
One thing that they did do in the TNA game though was if you played the fuck. By the way, in the history of story modes, oh my god, that was one of the worst fucking story modes in the world.
I never
You got
played
the
it.
tag team. It was terrible. I never finished it because, okay, so you become tag champions with Eric Young, who's the most boring wrestler to play as in the world, and you just have to play these tag matches, and then you eventually have to face the Dudley Boys, and it's like, okay, whatever, you have your match, and then like you assume that when you beat the Dudley Boys,
You win
this
the game,
tag
right?
run is over. No, you just keep defending the title for 20 more matches. And then you have to like, oh my god, it was just so fucking broken and terrible. But the cool thing about it though was that I don't know if you remember how the story mode began. You get jumped by a gang. I believe it was LAX and their goons, but like as a shoot, like, and you get so fucked up in Mexico that you have to get facial reconstruction surgery.
And that sounds
And
like Saints Row.
yeah, it was silly. So first you wrestle in Mexico in these small arenas. Then you go to Japan. You wrestle in slightly bigger arenas in Japan, and then you get the call from TNA to start working in. No. You go to the American Indies, I believe, and mind you can play in all these arenas in the exhibition mode, which was so fucking cool. Like
That's
it would be a
amazing.
6-sided ring, but in Japan or in Mexico, or like I said, an indie company, like just some fake indie that they made up. And then eventually you make it to Impact. And I don't know, I thought that was really freaking cool, especially with the graphics that they had at the time. It was like, man, like, I don't know, that game to me could have been so much more, but it was rushed. Which is weird because it took fucking forever to make. But I don't know, it was still rushed. They should have taken it. It took what, like 3 years? They should have fucking taken 6 years. Because in 6 years,
That was
Did
a
they have
Mario
Midway
six-sided
game, right?
rings in Fire Pro?
yeah, put Midway out of business actually because they made no fucking money off of it because no one bought it because it got bad reviews.
Do they have a six-sided ring in Fire Pro?
Repeat that?
Do they have a six-sided ring in Fire Pro?
No, I wish they did though. That'd be
Oh,
cool.
man.
They have
Like
barbed wire match though. They have barbed wire rings and shit.
the exploding
Landmine
time bomb matches. Like they have those.
Yeah,
Bro.
Those are fun. Those are really fun in Fire Pro.
Oh man, they're
Well,
the
what
best.
what wrestling game?
Hmm?
Yeah, like what wrestling game do you think has the best season mode or story mode?
I love the shut your mouth one, just because like you could walk through the backstage first person and you could like start problems with people just by walking up to them and saying the wrong thing. Uh, like I didn't like the actual story, but I liked the idea of 2K12 because like you can play as many different people in different situations. Like I remember, I think like there was a Sheamus story. Like, the thing was, I fucking hated playing as Sheamus, but like
Yeah.
his story was kind of cool where you get
It was
every
really
belt.
good.
2K12
The
had
whole
a
United
great
Kingdom
story.
stable thing, like the stories in the 2K12 and the WWE 12 games were better than what was happening on Raw and SmackDown during
Yeah.
that time period. I thought.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know who wrote that, right?
Who
Paul Heyman.
really?
He was the writer. He wrote the whole thing.
Well, that
Wow.
makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of goddamn sense.
He wrote the whole thing. I didn't know that till about a year or two ago, but that always stuck out in my mind how unique that story mode was because we never really saw anything like that. Then the year after they did Stone Cold mode, which was
They
awesome.
did. They did. They did the Attitude Era mode right after that, and then a few games like in 2K16. Then they did Austin mode, which was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, like whatchamacallit? There was one where you had to travel through all the WrestleManias, and I remember I did
Yeah,
that
2K14.
I did that with Nick one night, and it's like, man, after a while you just get bored. It wears you down.
It's very
It's just kind of
samey.
weird.
That's the one thing about the 2K games that I like. I did like the showcase mode stuff. The Attitude Era and the Steve Austin one, and most recently the Daniel Bryan story. They were so much fun to play, but I think the only issue is that they wouldn't just let you do the match and and or win it. Like, let's say if Daniel Bryan was supposed to win this match at WrestleMania against Batista and Orton, you can't just play through the match and just win. You have to do everything that actually happened in the match. You have to dive through the ropes. You have to do the
extremely. Like, they just have you recreate every single action. It's so I can't do.
Where's the imagination?
Do you remember? All right, I don't know if this was. I'm pretty sure this was WWE 13. There's a Hell in a Cell match you have to play. I think it's the First Blood with Kane and Austin. There's this thing you have to do. You have to make Paul Bearer bleed within like 10 seconds. I'm not kidding. Like, and I would read fucking Reddit posts about people fucking breaking their controllers in rage because this was so difficult to do.
I hated that shit.
I mean, I don't blame them, but like, goddamn.
No, it was so frustrating, and it's like for this one little spot that no one in history remembers.
Just have you play
I'm
the
breaking
match.
my neck.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was trash. But like one cool thing that they did in WWF No Mercy, you eventually had to face Triple H for the time, or maybe it was WrestleMania 2000. I don't remember. It was one or the other. Both games are very, very similar, but you had to face Triple H, and when you eventually did for the title, he was 1,000 times more difficult than any other person that you faced.
Triple H was unbeatable in all of those games. Like, honestly, and like a lot of the WWE games, Triple H and like it's just him, Lesnar, and Angle. They were unbeatable. Like, you couldn't beat him.
Brock and Here Comes the Pain was like silly.
God.
It was like silly.
After 3 suplexes, he has 3 finishers, and that's it. It's over.
I mean, that's how it works.
God forbid. I mean, not back then though. Back then, he would actually he would put in a little bit more effort. I mean, he had a God. I just listened to the clip of Jim Cornette threatening to shoot Brock. That's hysterical. But anyway,
yeah, hilarious. Because he was hurting people, and he was kind of being a bully backstage. Well, I think that's the story, right?
No. I'll tell you the story real quick. This is fucked up. So Jim Cornette's girlfriend at the time was becoming a wrestler. Actually, no. I'm not sure if it was. It might not be his current one because I do believe he married one of the OVW chicks. But anyway, there was a girl who had her private parts pierced, and he's like, "When I pick you up for the scoop slam, I'm gonna grab you down there.
Come on.
And everyone's like, don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it. Like, everyone's telling him, if you fucking do it, watch that. So he's like, oh, I'm going to do it. And everyone's like, okay, whatever. He's joking probably. He does it. Everyone freaks out. And then someone says to Jim Cornette, what are you going to do, fight him? He's like, no, I'm going to fucking shoot him. I'll fucking shoot him between the eyes.
Holy crap. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay, that adds up.
He deserved it. Fuck him. Fuck Brock Lesnar.
Wow.
What was I saying?
Thank God that wasn't a storyline in any of the video games. Like, that would be like
that'd be a great storyline.
Yeah, so I guess playing a lot of the showcase modes in the 2K series, you know, as much as I love the Daniel Bryan one, I don't want to play it again because I went through so much hell wrestling the Miz. You have to do all these specific things. You have to suplex him 8 times. You have to Irish whip. It was so painstakingly annoying. It was, and then they made him like very weak against like. After a while, you get stronger, but like it's Daniel Bryan. Like, I don't know. It was so annoying. I couldn't do it. But yeah,
which game was that?
2K19. Yeah, 2K19 had the Daniel Bryan showcase. You just go through his whole WWE career. Yeah.
Do I have that one? Is that the one with Seth Rollins on the cover?
No, that's the year before. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last one I bought.
18 was the last game where you can play as Brian Kendrick.
I'm the man with the plan.
That game is just not like once in a while I try and play it just to get, because like it's fun at first, but then you just like, I don't know, it's so slow. There's some kind of a disconnect, at least for me. Like, it feels so much like a sim.
Yes,
it's like
playing Madden. It's like playing Madden.
Yeah, I don't like sports games that
I
much.
mean,
I
like,
mean,
I don't
Madden's
mind it.
more fun than this.
I mean, like, I don't mind that it looks realistic, but like, if it were more fun, then I wouldn't care about how it looked. Like, that's the only thing with me. If
Like
it's fun,
Madden's
I mean,
great, but Blitz is much better. We all can agree on that.
oh yeah,
or NFL
Blitz is
Street.
class.
Yeah, yeah. Like the more fun and more like arcadey, I guess, for lack of a better term, that's what people like. I don't want to play Monday Night Raw. Like I want to watch Monday Night Raw, but I don't want to play it. I want to play the wrestling game like how I see fit. If I want to start the match by doing a shooting star press off a ladder, I should be able to do that. It's not
Yeah.
like you can't do it, but it's so painstakingly, slow. It is fun, but it's like there's an element of realism that I don't need in wrestling games. You know what I mean? Just make the stages look different and cool. That's the one thing about the 2K series games that I can't stand. Every set looks the same. I'm only playing on like WCW stages, which is also cool that they added that, and a lot of like the vintage arenas. Like if I play SummerSlam 2018, there's no difference from SummerSlam 2016. Like what's the point of doing that? They all look
Like,
exactly the same.
there is like freedom within the game, but the thing is, I feel like it's more of the illusion of freedom. Like, it kind of punishes you for not playing it the way the game wants you to play sometimes. Like,
The,
like you can put people through tables, but then it's very tedious just to do that.
well, like there has to be a balance. Like on Fire Pro, like I said, Fire Pro, it's very very pace driven. Like you said, like if you want to whip out a ladder and do a shooting star press through 28 tables at the first thing, I think you should be able to do it in certain games. I think that the WWE games, though, I think they should have like a more of a sim mode, maybe like that they have now. But the thing is, it seems like no one's happy with it. I mean, the game bombed this year, but
I mean,
that's a
that's
whole
because
other
of all the
story.
glitches. It was unplayable. I didn't care about how it looked. It was just unplayable. Like 2K19 is fun, but like 20, I don't know what happened.
And there was no
Well,
real reason to buy the game besides from if you really want to play like the women's showcase mode with all the quote unquote four horsemen. And if that's why you want to spend $60 on this game, do you, but not me.
well, what I was gonna say was like pace. I think that there's a balance between making pace fun and tedious. Like I said, Fire Pro, you can. I mean, if you're lucky, you can slip one in. You can't really hit a big move. Like you have different sets of grapple moves that you can do. And early on in the match, like let's just say I'm playing as the Undertaker, and I want to do a last ride 2 seconds into the match. I'm gonna get reversed. I'm gonna get kicked in the balls. Let's just say I try again. I'm gonna get kicked in the balls again over and over and over again because logically in a match, let's say wrestling's a shoot. If somebody keeps going for the same thing over and over again, you know exactly how to counter it, especially that early in the match when you're not fatigued or anything. You have to figure out another way around it. The thing is that logically getting your opponent weaker and weaker and weaker, and then using the bigger moves, and then using the bigger clotheslines
That's
and
the
the
fun of
bigger
the game to me.
strikes. Yeah, like you have to build up to it. Now, I think that there's like a balance where those it should be fun to do those things. I mean, I find it fun, and I'm pretty I wouldn't say I'm hard on the 2K games because I think that pretty much everyone has the same opinion on them at this point. Like, they're boring as shit. It's been the same thing for what, 6, 7 years now. I mean, gameplay wise, I mean, there hasn't been really much new, um, aside from like new story modes and stuff. But like, if I were them, I would go to EA. Well, I mean, EA does a lot of fucked up things, but I'm just saying like nobody like all right. For example, I'll give you a quick example. UFC, UFC 3, 2 and 1. Not a complaint out of the MMA community.
No, those games
Everyone's
are
like, games
incredibly
are awesome.
fun.
Everyone's like, they're great. You want to know what? UFC 3, I think it came out a year or two ago, and I don't know if they're really rushing out UFC 4. Like
No,
they're
they take
still
their time in those games.
exactly they're riding the wave. They're riding the wave, and it's like you want to know what? That's what you have to do. And when you're shoving a game into everyone's face every year, I don't know, it's going to become tedious. You're going to lose your creativity, especially when you're under pressure to, you know, let's say Elias Sampson cut his hair. Now you have to update that model. Or
Yeah.
Baron Corbin cut his hair. You have to update his model. AJ Styles put on face paint. Oh, now we have to have face paint AJ Styles. Now we have to, Great Balls of Fire isn't around anymore, so we got to take that out. It's like it's minor changes that no one really gives a flying fuck about. And if you really cared that much about it, I don't know. If I were them, the next game, I don't know what I would call it, but make it different, worth the price tag of 60. Like,
and have
put in a lot of
longevity,
new
some
stuff.
kind of longevity,
Yeah.
like you were saying.
And once a year, do a roster update for $15. Update the roster for $15 if you're really that interested. But like, I don't know. And not only that, they try to corner people like me because I love the community creations. Like the fact that I
it's
can play
easily the best part about the game.
Yeah, like the fact that I can play in Guilty as Charged ECW and have the Great Muda versus the Sandman in a hardcore match. That's fucking awesome. And they look like they're like what they're some of the time they look like what they're supposed
Most of the time.
And it's like, damn, but because I have a game that came out in 2017, I can't do that anymore. They shut down my community creations, and it's like, ugh.
I was just thinking of replaying 2K13, but like like you just said, like they probably don't even support the community creations for that anymore.
They definitely
I gotta look
don't.
into it.
I doubt that they do, because if they shut down 2K18, 2K13 is a million years ago. So.
Oh, they shut down 2K18? Ah, shit. I was just about to replay that too. God damn it. Whatever.
I never played the story mode in 2K18. I paid the $1.
I don't think there is one.
No.
In 2018, I think they took out the showcase mode. Yeah. 2019 was the first one they had since
they had Universe mode, but like Universe mode is like a stripped down season mode.
I like Universe mode because you can do whatever you want. You can book your own storylines. It's you can use your own imagination for things. It's a little glitchy, but it's still kind of cool.
You can. Like,
the thing is, it hasn't changed in 5 years. It's the same thing every year, literally. It's just the roster's pretty cool. They have different generations and stuff like that. But you know what I really want to talk about? Some of those GameCube wrestling games outside of Day of Reckoning, like WrestleMania 18, WrestleMania 19, stuff like that. Like, did you ever play those? I know you had GameCube, Elton.
I never played those.
I rented the one where you walk around the arena and beat up security people. I don't remember if that was 19 or 18. I think it was 19. But those games kind of sucked. they just weren't that good. Like, there were no Day of Reckoning. But I remember, like I said, I took a long break from wrestling in elementary school, and by the time Day of Reckoning came out, I was kind of burnt out on the idea of playing another GameCube wrestling game, because WrestleMania 18, I think I played them both. I just distinctly remember there was one where the story mode was a beat 'em up, pretty much, where you just ran around the fucking back. Like there's one part of it where you're at a construction site and you can throw people like off of a building to their death, and it's like, Jesus Christ!
What episode of Smackdown was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, that happened on Raw. I think I came through Shane McMahon off like a platform and like split his head open.
Didn't the Wall throw someone off a building?
No, I think the Wall threatened Hogan from the top of a building.
That's the Wall, brother.
Yeah, the Wall, brother. Classic. Oh man.
But like, no. Well, there is an episode of Nitro. I believe Big Show got thrown off the Marriott Hotel or something.
Oh my god! He's throwing wrestlers off buildings.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure in WCW.
It's an underrated wrestling trope: throwing people off buildings.
You should be doing that in the game.
The last person that got thrown off a building in wrestling was Joey Janela, I believe.
Yeah, it's Andy.
But whatchamacallit? You know what I miss a lot? I know I'm jumping around here. A lot. was about the Smackdown games was the expansive backstage, like where you could
Yeah, you can literally go like I remember like in the Just Bring It, you can go like so many areas backstage, like catering, like the locker rooms, like I think in the docking
Shut
area
your
as
mouth. You
well.
can climb the SmackDown fist.
yeah, yeah, or you could go to WWF New York.
Yep. Here comes the page. Kind of expanded upon that. That was
Yeah,
you can fight on top of the building and throw people off. There's a helicopter you can jump off of. It got
helicopter.
crazy.
Yeah,
That was
that
ridiculous.
that game was awesome. Here Comes the Pain is like, I mean, off the top of my head, it's a toss up between that and Shut Your Mouth as to which one was the best PS2 wrestling game. But god damn, do I miss the backstage areas. I mean, they kind of brought it back in the new games, which I thought was kind of cool. Like, you can actually, in the 2K games, or at least in 2K18, you can actually go in the back and like you can fight in Triple H's
Yeah, same with
office.
19. You can
Yeah.
go in like the offices, like you can like use a crane and jump off it. It's pretty cool actually. The
You can
backstage
brawl in
in
like the
that game.
security area. You could jump the guardrail, which is kind of cool.
I always appreciated that. You want to know a game that just came to mind though that I think we all forgot about, and it fucked over one SmackDown versus Raw. Do you remember Legends of WrestleMania?
No, oh my! I haven't heard that in
Yeah.
years.
I played it one time. It was okay.
Yeah, I never played it, but because of that game, SmackDown versus Raw 09 did not have any legends. Like literally, like Austin wasn't in it. Hogan, Rock, no legends was. I think Eddie Guerrero might have been in it, but like because of Legends of WrestleMania, they stripped out legends in SmackDown versus Raw 09, and I thought that was kind of fucked up. But yeah,
I didn't buy 2009. I just didn't feel compelled to buy it for some
It
reason.
sucked.
That was like the
Yeah.
tag team oriented one, wasn't it? And it had like
Yeah.
hot tags. I remember brought that was
Yep,
like the main
that's the
feature.
Uh,
first one they had hot tags. Yeah.
it sucked, and then they brought it back in 2010.
2010 was
awesome.
amazing. Like, oh,
It
I
wasn't.
spent
I
so many
pre-ordered that.
hours. Like, no, like my favorite thing about 2010 was that like I don't know if it was the first wrestling game you can do this, but in 2010 you can like update. You can like use your own music for your character. Like I use like 50 Cent like Straight to the Bank for my character, and like and you can do that in story mode. I don't know. I think that was that the first game that you can incorporate your own music.
2008.
2000, yeah, 2008.
Oh, okay,
2008.
okay.
That game was really fun. 2010 because they fixed all the problems. Like everything was fixed, and then 2011 was like good, but
It had like a physics system. That's what they brought in 2011.
it was I like the physics system. But it just I think
It was like a broken SmackDown 2007. That's how I felt about 2011.
Yeah, for real. It was. I mean, it was all right, but
2012 was when they went to the moon. That shit was.
They recreated everything in 2012, like they from the ground up.
It was like it was a lot of fun. 2012 and 13 to me was so much fun with that Attitude Era mode. I loved playing that Attitude Era mode. I think I beat it twice. Like it was, I don't know. But like you said though, the only thing was that like
The missions.
Spots.
It's terrible. Terrible.
Like, do you need to complete the story in like those games to like get all the characters, or like can you just like buy them for $1 on the network or something?
Yeah, I think you could do that in 2013.
That's usually what I did, honestly, because it was just I didn't want to do the story to get all the characters. I don't want to play this story just to unlock Sting. Like I just don't.
That's what I did for 2K18. I think I paid like $1 or so because I'm like, because I don't even know how you unlock these people, but like I didn't have any legends, and I mainly just buy it to play as a legend. Well, and some of the new guys, like I think AJ's in that game.
I love playing as Asuka. It's really fun to play as Asuka.
Is she in 18?
Yeah, she's in 18. She's in 18 and 19.
Yeah, like
unbeatable. You can't kill her.
But like the one thing that I loved about 18 was they had a lot of WCW. Well, for them, I mean, they had more WCW content. You had 3 Stings, or maybe 4, maybe even 5 Stings. You had a lot of fucking Stings. You had 2 DDPs. You had Goldberg. You had I think you had 2 Goldbergs.
Yeah, you had 2 Goldbergs.
You had Nash. You had everyone in the ends up. Well, every one of the core of the NWO, but Hulk Hogan, because he was still, in his
He was still canceled.
yeah, he was still canceled.
Yeah.
They brought him back like Family Guy in '05 this year, but
Oh my
yeah.
god.
Yeah.
But,
You described it so perfectly.
That whole idea of Hogan coming back was the funniest shit I've ever heard. He's
Watch
backstage
what you say,
and
brother.
he's like, he was sorry he got caught. He's like, and then Kofi Kingston was like, yep, it happened. Like,
Kofi
the
Kingston
New
and
Day
Xavier
was like,
Woods, Big
well,
E. Imagine being those three and like watching this motherfucker be like, "Watch what you say, brother."
listen, if he's not sorry, which he clearly isn't, I'd rather him say "Watch what you say, brother," and have not apologize if he's not sorry, because he's not sorry. Like, do you really want a fake apology out of somebody? I don't. So to me, it's honestly, we see you for what you are. You're a piece of fucking shit. You always have been, always will be, and
but you're fun to play as in the games.
I'll use community creations. I'll definitely use that.
And he had some awesome matches in the 80s and 90s, but
one of the best promos ever.
Well, he's I mean, I hate giving Hogan his props, but I mean, come on.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about some of like the silly like kind of off kilter WWE games, like going way back in Crush Hour? Yeah, games like Crush Hour, WWE All Stars,
monster trucks and the machine guns.
Crush Hour. I think that game was made just to like for little boys, for that's it. Boys like monster trucks and wrestlers, so just put them together.
Yeah, they play it for a week.
That was the end of the monster truck phase, though, because that came out in like '03. But you know what's funny about that game? The storyline. Do you know the story mode in that game?
No.
I had no idea it had a story mode.
Vince McMahon basically becomes the richest man in the history of the world. I think he might even be the president in the game.
No way. Oh
and he runs 100% of television.
What?
That's hell. This is hell.
Listen, you can YouTube the clip. Listen, because one day I was watching something on YouTube. Like I don't remember. It was like a list of like the most ridiculous wrestling games ever, and they were talking about the story. And I had no idea. I had to look up like cutscenes and stuff. So basically, Vince McMahon bought every single television station in the world. He runs television. Like, it's not just the wrestling monopoly. He monopolized entertainment. So
wow.
Very
That's awesome.
So he designs this twisted metal type of show where like Rob Van Dam will have a fucking monster truck for no reason, and you battle it out in oh god, is that game bizarre? That's a weird fucking game.
Imagine they remaster that.
A lot of people want remasters, but they gotta understand if they do that, they gotta pay royalty checks and they gotta put Benoit in these games. And
that's the reason why.
That's why Here Comes the Pain is never going to be remastered ever.
Oh man, that's a shame.
There's petitions to remaster like Here Comes the Pain. It's like it's not going to happen. They're going to have to pay Maven.
If they remaster Here Comes the Pain, just take out Benoit and put Bret Hart and Dean Malenko in it. That's it, and I'm good.
Do you know that? Do you know about the Ultimate Warrior thing about that game?
No.
And Jeff Hardy. So they had models for Jeff and Warrior. Warrior was I mean, this is lots of hearsay. However, factually, because there's footage of it on YouTube, I've seen it in the demo of the game. Because a big selling point of that game at the time, I didn't know this until I looked into it, was we're going to have tons of legends, because prior to that, I don't think the SmackDown games really had a lot of legends, did they? I mean, they would sprinkle in maybe Lawler, maybe you can play as like someone like that, but there wasn't like a Legends roster. That was the first game where you can unlock, like, like you said, George Steele. Uh, was Bulldog in that game?
British Bulldog? I don't think so. That
But
would have been awesome. No hard people in
yeah.
that.
Well, they still hated.
Yeah, that's right.
That
That's
was
right.
yeah. I mean, well, according to Brett, him and Sean squashed that shit like two weeks after the Montreal thing. Apparently, someone called someone else, and they were like, "Look, I'm sorry," and then they're like, "No, I'm sorry," and then everything was cool between the two. Because the Montreal thing is kind of blowing up, but anyway, they did make the Ultimate Warrior, and he was going to be in the game, and he agreed to it at first, but then last minute he was demanding more money. Ultimate Warrior is a fucking I mean, I mean to speak ill of the dead, but what a fucking bastard the Ultimate Warrior was. He was such a piece of shit. And yeah, last minute he was trying to stranglehold them for money, and they're like, you know what? Fuck you, we're taking you out of the game. No Ultimate Warrior. However, like I said, if you want to look up footage, like early beta footage of the game, there's a clip of him versus like Kane in a Hell in a Cell match. It's pretty interesting.
I'm sure they have
But
like Jeff Hardy wasn't in any of the games until like 2008 when he came back to WWE. And he came back in '06, but he wasn't in the game until like SmackDown versus Raw. I think it was in '07. They had him and they had Jeff Hardy in the game, but they just didn't have him like physically. Like they had all his moves, his motions. So you could have made Jeff Hardy. There's tons of videos on YouTube of people making Jeff Hardy because they had everything about him except for his image.
yeah, well, one struggle that I think a lot of people our age, like in the mid 20 range, can all. I mean, I don't know about you, but like one thing that I did a lot as a teenager was I would go to the call websites, creator wrestler websites, and you get formulas on how to perfectly
Oh,
make
I
a
did
wrestler.
that all the
Yeah,
time on my game
all the
winners, on
time.
the websites. I did it all the time.
Yeah, like, and they had preset moves, and whatchamacallit, like for example on Shut Your Mouth, they preset Sting. You can make Sting perfectly. They had his face paint, they had Goldberg, they had all his moves except for maybe the jackhammer, but they had everything. Especially with Sting, especially with Warrior, Andre, like just people who you just would automatically want to recreate.
Like in a lot
And
of the WWE games, I would look up like Kurt Angle's moveset and how to make Kurt Angle. It was like the easiest wrestler to make. Like a bald guy, you get like the singlet, like to have like the motions and everything. Like that's all I did. Like
I,
just look up those.
I would spend hours trying to make. I remember I don't know if you remember, but on my 360 when I had SmackDown '07, I made like a perfect Sandman with blood on his face and everything. And it's like, oh, it was so freaking cool. Like you could, they had pre-renders for Funk, for Ultimo Dragon, for Muto, for just a lot of the bare bones wrestlers that they know people are going to want to recreate. AJ also.
Yeah,
Interesting
they
little
had his
fact.
taunt. They had his taunt for
Huh?
years. They had AJ Styles' taunt
Yeah.
for years in the game.
Yeah. I was gonna say interesting little fact. You could create AJ perfectly as far back as Shut Your Mouth. I'm not even kidding. If
Holy
you play Shut Your
shit!
Mouth, they have his move set. They don't have the Styles Clash, but they have everything else. And yeah, like the creators of that game. The one thing that I love about, at some point I'd love to talk about virtual pro wrestling too, but the one thing I love about virtual pro wrestling is if you and Revenge and No Mercy, just all those AKI games. If you wanted to recreate a wrestler, it was easy as fuck. Like it was so easy because they had their faces, their taunts, and preset move sets. Where it's like, yeah, that's clearly Abdullah the Butcher. That's clearly Bruiser Brody. That's clearly so and so. And virtual pro wrestling and specifically Revenge and No Mercy were so good at that because they knew exactly how to do that without breaking copyright grounds. But then in copyright grounds in Japan is a little bit weird. For example, like in Virtual Pro, you can do, which is such a great game. Like I said, uh, Peter and Michael, if your computers can run N64 emulators, I'm telling you, I'll send you a quick file. Play Virtual Pro Wrestling. It'll change your friggin' life. I'm telling you, it's a perfect wrestling
I think
game.
my laptop can run it. Hopefully, if it can run
That's
uTorrent, you can run this.
if you can run uTorrent, you can run Project 64. Trust me.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, one of the things I love about that game is that you can basically set up a G1 style tournament,
Oh,
and
that's
while you're
awesome.
doing, yeah, well, you could do a tag carnival as well, and no matter what, eventually, whenever you hit a milestone, you unlock a wrestler, and it'll always be like a bootleg. Like for example, I played a I think it was Stan Hansen. It might have been someone else. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it was Stan Hansen. If you beat that tournament mode as Stan Hansen and you win the Triple Crown, you unlock a bootleg Bruiser Brody. The only thing that's missing is the beard. Once you put the beard on, it's Bruiser Brody.
Oh, you can edit these
And
guys too, like when you unlock them.
yes, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh
And he has
shit!
the Brody taunts, or he goes, oh, oh. I don't know how much
Yeah,
Brody you watch, but the Huss, like he'll do that, and it's like, oh my fucking god. And like I said, Japan has a weird copyright thing where you could get away with a lot of stuff. And for Virtual Pro Wrestling, they had like a fake, like the only thing for Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 that they had licensed was All Japan. Like they could legally put Stan Hansen, Kobashi, Kawada, Baba, Masawa, uh, whoever. Basically like the core of All Japan they had. Now, then you jump to the fake New Japan, where there was fake Inoki, fake Muta, and you can unlock the Great Muta also, but that's
the great
that's a
and the
whole other
fake
thing.
Muda.
No, Muta in Japan mainly wrestled as Keiji Muto, just as him without the pain. I'm so happy that maybe now people will pay attention to other games, because you want to know what, the 2K series is lazy as fuck. The only thing that they put any work into, I mean, and look at I hate to be a graphics snob, I hate people who do that, but look at why does SmackDown versus Raw 2007 look better than 2K20?
I think Here Comes the Pain looks better than 2K20.
It
2K,
does.
like Here
You're
Comes the Pain
right.
is timeless. It's timeless how it looks.
Graphics don't mean that much to me, honestly. Like
Def
as long
Jam,
as the game's
even Def Jam New York looks better than some of the
Yo,
recent
Def Jam,
2K
Def
games.
Jam looks amazing. Like that game, like ages like a fine wine.
Def Jam New York is so good. That was such a fucking good game.
Yeah, it's very
Oh,
rare now too. It's like $50-$60 online now.
damn.
Yeah.
That's a game that I really really wish would have like went. I mean, I guess it did go further. I shouldn't say went further, but I wish that it didn't take that decline where Def Jam just didn't want to make a fourth one, because it's like, yeah, the third one sucked, but how about we try again?
Maybe they
There's
didn't
some
want to
good
pay all
on
those
it, right?
rappers.
Yeah, that's true. And
Yeah,
also,
everyone's gonna
like,
want their piece.
I mean, there's such a market for that right now. If you made, and you don't necessarily have to put modern rappers in it. You don't have to put, fucking Migos in it. If you made a game with this similar type of roster, and you're playing as Method Man, and the objective is to slap Cool G Rap in the face, I think people would really enjoy something like that. But
You see, that's very
it's like,
simple.
damn.
It's like beautiful in its simplicity.
I
Well,
think
Fight for
Griselda
New
should get
York
that
was,
get that rolling. And ICP, all the rapper wrestling fans, they should all get together and try to make a great, or get the ball rolling on a very unique pro wrestling game.
I agree. If ICP did it once, I you got to give, like I said, I think ICP is very underappreciated in the wrestling world, but
They're underappreciated.
yeah,
Period.
oh yeah, I agree. Well, I'm just saying, like, especially with the fact that, we were just talking about Great Muta. They had a fucking stable in WCW in the late 90s. They had the Dark Carnival. It was them, Vampiro, and the Great Muda.
Oh my,
That's
It's like,
amazing.
that's
it's like,
amazing.
exactly. And fucking Violent J would talk for Great Muda. It's like,
That
how can someone dislike this?
that's ungodly. I had no idea that existed.
I
It's too
can't,
bad
I can't
WCW was failing during that point.
the WCW games were on such a hot streak. I swear to God. Aside from Nitro and Thunder, those games sucked.
Oh
But
wait. Was Thunder the one where you can like whenever they lift up the chair, it wasn't no animation. They just lift up the chair and just throw it. Like you can't even hit
It was
anyone
like
with the chair.
combos in Thunder. Like it wasn't like X to grapple. That was like to do a suplex, you had to press square, left, right, up and down, and it was kind of
That's
strange.
ridiculous.
it was
So
bizarre. Yeah, like it was somehow shittier than Warzone and Attitude, which were horrible games. But WCW was on a hot streak because you had WCW versus the World, which another one. I bought the video game trading post. I think that was groundbreaking for the PlayStation. All right, you want to talk about underappreciated games? WCW versus the World, because another one of those games. It's very, very easy to master the control system. A great, well, for its time, a great roster. The roster is pretty slim by today's standards. Like you're missing a lot of key players. But it was the first PlayStation wrestling game that had great controls, great everything, great animations. You could do lots of cool stuff. Emphasis on Japanese wrestlers. Surprisingly, it was it was just a really good game. But WCW in the '90s was on a hot streak. WWF games were trash. They sucked except for like maybe that In Your House game, but that was more of like a Mortal Kombat game.
I'm
It was like a
looking
fighting
forward
game.
to. I'm looking forward to the AEW game. I'm excited to see what they might do with that. Like I don't know what to
AEW,
expect.
well, the AEW that actually ties in with what I'm about to say. I was about to say WCW had that AKI engine on World War One, World Tour, and Revenge. The thing was that the AKI deal, I guess they fell through because they started working with the World Wrestling Federation, and they developed WrestleMania 2000, which is a fucking top-notch game. It gets overshadowed by No Mercy because No Mercy is probably better. It is better, but
That
top-notch
was
game.
on Dreamcast, right? Or that was only Dreamcast? WWF
No,
2000?
no, that was only on N64.
Really?
The
Oh, I'm
the
thinking of
Dream,
Royal Rumble.
yeah, Royal Rumble, Royal Rumble was a Dreamcast exclusive and an arcade exclusive. But the uh, the thing about WCW though was that for the states, aside from Fire Pro, that was the game that perfected that style of just perfect grappling system, perfect or near perfect grappling system, near perfect striking system, reversals, all that stuff. Then World Tour came around, same thing. It's like, wow, this is really impressive. Revenge came around. Holy shit. Not only does it have a cool story mode, not only can you make your own like pick your champions, and the gameplay was perfect. Like it's like, wow, like how could this get any better? AKI and I believe THQ as well. I'm not sure if THQ came into the picture this early, but AKI at least, they jumped on the WWF wagon. Then they started developing, like I said, WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy, which came out the same year, I believe. Yeah, it did. It did come out the same year because I remember I got No Mercy on Christmas 2000. But anyway, um, they ended up going to EA WCW, and they made Mayhem. And I remember loving Mayhem as a kid. Holy crap, does that game suck? It's a bad game.
It didn't age well.
No, not at all. And then they made Backstage Assault, which was the final WCW game before they went out of business. And it's just a nasty mark on their legacy as a video game, on their line of video games, because it just wasn't fair. I don't know, because those WCW games, especially the N64 ones, aside from Mayhem and Backstage Assault, fuck, like you can't get much better than that. And those were the pillar. Well, Revenge specifically is a pillar in the history of wrestling games. And where I was going to bring this into AEW real quick was Cody Rhodes, who I think I'll get into that another day. But Cody, when he was talking about the game and everything, he because they're clearly making a game, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
hinted
They
at it.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. He said there's a certain engine people want back into the wrestling fourfold. And what engine could he be talking about other than AKI? And if they bring that engine back and they like, because I don't know if AKI is in business anymore. I don't know if THQ is in business anymore. But if they're able to work that into a game, 2K, in my opinion, in my personal taste as well, is absolutely fucked if they get that off the grounds with an AKI engine, because that's a perfect wrestling game right there. With the AEW roster, with the amount of new stuff they could put in, ladder matches, they could put in
War
they could
games.
tweak war games, cage matches, uh, just there's so many possibilities. And like, I don't know what AEW is doing right now, just for the simple fact I'm not watching. I feel bad for the wrestling industry. I feel terrible for them because, like, I try to support as many I don't know. I try to watch and support stuff as much as possible, but empty arena shows are hard to watch for me. But like, goddamn, I just wish that they had a bigger opportunity right now to like they were gonna do the war games, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
holding that
We were
off.
gonna go to that.
Yeah, I still have tickets. Just
It
collecting
was
dust,
called,
blood and guts.
huh? Yeah, blood and guts. Yeah, like, and it's funny because I mean, I think them calling the event that is a nod to ECW, because I don't know if you remember on the ECW on TNN apron, it would say blood and guts on the apron of ECW, and it's like, huh, I don't know if that's
And
a nod to ECW. It
WWE
feels
called
like
Vince
it.
McMahon called AEW Blood and Guts, the Blood and Guts promotion. So there's that too.
Oh,
Yeah, he did. But like the first thing I thought about when it said blood and guts was ECW. Like that
That's
was
what.
the
Yeah,
first
I
thing I
thought
thought
like
about.
I thought that, and I thought of ECW and hardcore wrestling and all that stuff. But I think some of the most like not lost because we can't get them in this country. Those Wrestle Coliseum, Wrestle Kingdom video games in Japan that was developed by Ukes, but I don't think they ever made it here. But those games I want to play because I watched some gameplay. It looks like Day of Reckoning and SmackDown versus Raw, but there's Shinsuke Nakamura.
yeah. You know who has them and has a Japanese PS2 is Steve.
Oh
He
man,
tells me he tells me that those games are fucking amazing. They're like perfect. They play a lot like the SmackDown games. I want to play them
me too.
badly. I'd love to. Um, like I said, the one Japanese game I could easily make available to you if you're interested is Virtual Pro. However, King of the Coliseum and Wrestle Kingdom, damn, I'd love to. Honestly, there's been many times. Right now, I'm broke as shit due to quarantine. But if I had the money, I would buy, because at the I'm sorry, I had a few drinks. I almost called it the wrestling trading post, the video game trading post.
That'll be awesome.
That'd be a great story.
We need to go. Listen, we off topic. We need to go to the wrestling universe in Queens one day.
Yeah, I've been
I
thinking
want to
about
go
it.
there. Listen, I want to go there with seriously. I'm gonna drop $200 there at least, because they sell vintage. They sell vintage ECW shirts,
That
which
yeah,
I want. I want at least two of them, and they have a stockpile of these large Great Muta action figures that are signed by him, and I think they go about 80 a piece. I'm gonna probably buy one, maybe two if I have the money, because I just need that for my collection. But
Do they
anyway,
sell games there as well?
I assume they do. I assume that they would. I mean, they seem like that they carry everything. There's this great video of Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins who got they. I'm shocked that they released them. By the way,
Yeah, everyone
shocked.
is. Everyone is. Oh
That's
my.
they're the. I mean, look, what were they really doing anyway? But like me, if I was Vince, those are the types of jobbers you need because they're full of charisma. They can work their asses off. Zack Ryder, in any building he goes and can get himself over. And it's like, he's been able to do that for the past 9 years.
Yep.
I don't know why they never pulled the trigger on him. I swear to God,
a jack of all trades beyond belief.
Baffles me. Baffles.
Yeah, like he's not.
The money they could have made with those two.
Yeah, like he's not. Maybe he is world champion material. I don't know, but like I don't see him that way.
He was definitely Intercontinental champion material. Could have been a great champion.
Yeah, but I mean like a legitimate, not a goofball. Like when he was over, they broke his neck. John Cena stole his girlfriend, and Kane took him by the wheelchair and threw him off the stage.
Oh my Jesus Christ!
I can't stop thinking about that. I can't think about that every day. I think about him and his neck brace in the wheelchair. And he wheel his ass off the stage. And there's John Cena making up Keith Thorne.
And Cena was the baby face.
Yeah, he was top baby face.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
Did they ever have that storyline in the games?
They should have. They should.
They should, but I wouldn't know who to play as because if you play as Zack Ryder, you're a loser. If you play as Kane, you're a bully. If you play as John Cena, you're a bully.
I'm all about freedom of choice, so I'll play.
What were they thinking when they did that storyline? What were they thinking? Just think about that. Zack Ryder.
Yeah. And then during the fucking Rock, the most famous pro wrestler in the history of mankind, he comes back. He does this shitty tag match with John Cena, Ron Killings, and The Miz. He does a promo after the match. Before he's able to open his mouth, the crowd in Madison Square Garden is chanting, Zack Ryder. Not Rocky. Rocky. We haven't seen Rock since, 2004 at this point?
I don't remember that.
They were chanting Zack Ryder, and he acknowledged it, Rock. He's like, look, I forgot what he said, but he basically gave him the nod, like, yeah, that's going to be a future guy. And it's like, fuck no, he isn't. He's about to get fucking killed.
At least The Rock tried. Even The Rock tried to get him over, and they didn't want it.
That's what happened with Taz. When Taz got to WWF, he got a massive, massive ovation, and then he knew he was fucked because Taz knew, I'm not Vince's creation, but Vince gave him another job, and it definitely paved the way for the second leg of Taz's career as an announcer, and that led him to his radio show and his podcast, and now he's in AEW. You know, they didn't. If they're not going to make him world champion, they didn't give anything else to Zack Ryder. But then again, that's another podcast for another day. So the one game that I really want to talk about, I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I actually looked it up online. It's actually worth quite a bit of money, depending on what console you get it for. It's WWE All Stars. It was ridiculous, but it was fun. That's the one thing that the modern 2K games aren't really. Because the 2K games take themselves too seriously. All Stars was just a fun game. You can do like a triple 900-degree, power bomb or whatever, but it was fun.
There should be like, that's not my cup. But actually, I shouldn't say it's not my cup of tea. Because you want to know what? I never played it. It could be really fun. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
that game actually is fun. Like, Battlegrounds looks like a less fun version of that. Like, All Stars is fun.
I don't want to dismiss Battleground yet. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm hesitant. I don't. It does not look like a $60 game.
Hell no.
But, yeah. I hope they don't release it for $60. But like, that's one of those games, All Stars, I mean, like where, you appreciate it for what it's worth. Like, it's not something I jumped at. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's not something that I jumped at, but the fact that exists is good because you want to know what? There's people who love. Actually, kind of interesting. Remember my old friend Travis?
Yeah. ECW Grunge TNA.
Yeah. Yeah. He loved All Stars. Like, I'm talking about, like, he played the shit out of this game when he wasn't even watching wrestling. He's like, as a fighting game, he's like, you don't understand, like, because he was super into Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and shit like that. He's like, as a fighting game, this is top notch. Like, they put work into this game. I'm like, really? He's like, you have no idea how good this game is. Like, if you're into fighting games, I'm like, huh. that kind of made me kind of compelled to play it. I never did, obviously, but I think having that option is nothing but beneficial. At
It's
least to me.
definitely
I don't know.
it definitely like because like for the people that are sick of the super realistic simulator games, that game is a huge break. Like it is very cartoonish. Like even at times for me, like at first it was like it looks a little hokey, but actually playing the game is very fun.
It was hold on. I just hold on. I just I just chugged a bunch of vodka. But I'm very unprofessional today. I've been up
Yeah,
for
there's nothing professional about us anyway, so it's fine.
I've been awake for 32 hours now, so I'm kind of a mess. But the thing about that game though is when you give people the option to have more than just a simulator. Like to me, All Stars is like the violent if whatchamacallit. That's not a good analogy. The All Stars is like the completely violently opposite of a simulation game. That just seems like a fucking fighting game, a silly fighting game that has the WWE trademark. And it's like, you want to know what's the problem with that? And especially if the game's good. But the thing is, like I said, I never played it. I can't really say if it's good or not. But I've been told by people who are really into fighting games that that's an underrated piece of work. And it sucks that you tell me that it's expensive now because I'm kind of interested to play it.
I was so curious because watch, I'm gonna look up the Amazon prices, and they were kind of ridiculous. I think if you buy the PS2 version, I think it's cheap, but like if you want it for like 360 or PS3, I think it's quite a bit. Let me look
So
it up
is
real
so
quick.
so is Legends of WrestleMania. It's about $25, and it's like, damn, like, ugh. I want to play it. I really do. Like, I genuinely want to play Legends of WrestleMania, but I don't know if I want to spend $25 on a game that might suck butt. Because one of the games that I did buy, another game I bought at the video game trading post was Legends of Wrestling. That game, I mean, like the roster is, the that's like one of the most perfect rosters for me. It's just kind of miserable. You can play the Austin Idol Jerry Law, not Austin Idol Jerry Lawler. You could play but Austin Idol is in the game, by the way. But you can play the Andy Kaufman Jerry Lawler feud.
That's
So
awesome.
like exactly, like it's this unique experience. And if a game came out today where it focused on these legendary territorial feuds like that, or like a Harley race Ric Flair, something like that, I think it could go somewhere. Like I said, the problem with that though is that, like I said, well Ric Flair's kind of broke, so he'll probably give you the rights to his name for basically any money. But you have that new game coming out. What's it called? Retromania?
What's
Oh,
that?
you haven't?
No.
Oh, Retromania. It's in the style of the Super Nintendo, a certain Super Nintendo WWF game that people have nostalgia for. Forgot what it's called, but it's licensed by House of Hardcore. Austin Idol is in it. Blue Meanie, Tommy Dreamer, uh, a bunch of
They have
others
Blue Meanie
are
in a
in it.
wrestling game.
The whole BWO is in it.
Holy
Oh,
shit! I
that's
never
incredible.
imagined a game with BWO in it. Holy shit!
It's coming out this summer, I believe. Retromania. It looks okay. Road Warriors are in it. Like, it's a really interesting. It's interesting. It's 2D. It kind of looks like Fire Pro. It doesn't look as good as Fire Pro, but it looks like it. Um, I'm kind of looking forward to. I don't know if I'm going to purchase it. I'm going to have to see the reviews first, but it's definitely something I think worth looking into. Yeah, Retromania. The beta might be out right now, actually.
What console is it for? Is it on PCs, on Steam? What?
Originally, it was just going to be PC, but it's going to be on consoles. We found out, so it's probably going to be $30 price tag.
That's
And
That's
perfect.
not bad.
they said that as the game continues, like to just if it grows, if it garners a fan base, which I think it'll garner a small fan base. They're going to update the roster. They're going to just add people as they can go along. That's what Fire Pro is doing right now. Like, the thing is, though, for Fire Pro, they kind of give you incentive to buy new players because you get new moves. Like, for example, they have which I might buy, honestly, because, here I am many 30 something hours with no sleep and drunk, and I'm thinking about doing this. But they have the super juniors, the junior heavyweight roster that you can buy right now. In my head, I'm like, I have all these motherfuckers already on my roster. Why would I need them? Turns out that you get a ton of new moves, cool moves. Like, you get I believe Ishimori's in it. You get like a more official Liger. Then you could download like a whole. So like, there's incentive to buy these new wrestlers. I hope if Retromania does get, I mean, it did get off the ground. It is coming out. Like I said, there's footage. People are promoting it. Dreamer is promoting it. I hope it does well. I hope it's a great game. But I hope they give incentive to buy extra wrestlers, because that's something that might be able to build into something really cool. Like I said, I would look into it real quick, like if you can on your phone, because it looks like a kind of a cool game. The problem with wrestling, I mean, I don't mean to. This is your show. I don't mean to fucking take it over, but
No, it's not a big deal. We're talking.
one thing that sucked as a wrestling fan for the past 20 or so years is that I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, we had borderline no variety. We had WWE games. That's all that we had. We had WWE
It's the
games
only wrestling
and
games that
weird.
people know of.
Yeah, the 2K series is it's the monopoly.
And now there's talks of an AEW game with a possible AKI engine, which makes me fucking jump out of my window with happiness, because it's like, oh my god, like if that happens, oh my god, like that's countless hours of entertainment right there.
So
Especially with that.
Retromania is actually the sequel to the 1991 arcade game WrestleFest. I think that's what it is.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. There you
and
go.
it's coming out in
WrestleFest.
July for
Oh,
PS4,
cool.
Switch, Xbox, and computer, PC.
Fantastic. I'm so. It was supposed to come out Christmas, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna push it back and make it better, because they felt like it was a little too buggy.
And
And
Cole Cabana is in it, apparently.
yeah, Cabana's in it. It's a mix of indie guys and legends, and it's like, man,
Tommy
if
Dreamer's
this
in
gets,
it. The Road Warriors. They have like a lot of people.
It looks fucking cool.
I hope this thing is a success. I'm like I said, I because I played WrestleFest. It's all right, but I hope it just plays as a more updated version of it, because nowadays we kind of have an idea of what works, what doesn't work, because we're what it's 2020. We're 40 years into wrestling games now, almost. So we know what works, what doesn't work, what is clunky, what isn't clunky, and this seems like a project that is made by fans. And you know what? I don't know. I have some faith in it. I
I mean,
hope
a
I
lot of
hope
the
this
best
game.
wrestling games are made by fans, like EWR and like Fire Pro being one of them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, Fire Pro is made by I don't remember what the company is called. Fire Pro. I don't know if I mean I'm sure they were fans, but Fire Pro. Yeah, Fire Pro is a very interesting history, because at first they weren't really sponsored by any company. They just have bootleg versions. Like I have my PS2 version of Fire Pro Returns. Now, no one has their actual names. However, clearly in front of you is the Great Sasuke, but I don't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or clearly it's Muda or Liger or somebody, and they're just called something else. And it's like, okay, you're just dancing around Japanese copyright. Cool. There's clearly Eddie Guerrero. There's clearly Chris Benoit. All these people who are legendary, and I don't know. It's just kind of crazy that a game like Retromania and this new AEW game. And like I said, god damn it, I just wish I could remember the name off the top of my head. There's this game that's coming out very soon where it's lots of indie wrestlers and Impact wrestlers that have signed on to be a part of it. The only problem is that it's probably only going to be on Steam, and it's like, ugh.
Is it like a 3D game or like more like Fire Pro and like Retromania?
3D. It's going to be 3D. I saw some, like I said, there's going to be light tube matches and barbed wire and lots of deathmatch guys signs up. Nick Gage signs up. Like lots of people signs up. Like indie guys, like real indie guys, and also like I said, Impact guys. But Impact is kind of an indie at this point, sadly. But I definitely think that game can go pretty far. It's just a matter of, with these crowd-funded games, it could go one way or the other. With Retromania, we have some gameplay footage. So I think we have an idea of where it could probably go. It's promising, I think.
As long as it doesn't go into development hell, then it should be fine.
I don't think it. I think development hell's already happened to that game because, like I said, it was supposed to come out on Christmas. Luckily, they're taking their time with it. I'd rather have.
Look, I'm open to a 2K alternative. That's it. You know what I mean? Because I have all the I don't necessarily need the 2K series, but if I want to play, I'm kind of itching for like a new wrestling game that's not the 2K series. I'm open to anything at this point. I don't care. And Fire Pro is right there on PlayStation. We have a PlayStation. We can get that. So, I'm just waiting for. I just want change. And this new WrestleFest thing looks interesting with wrestlers I like, wrestlers that are not in any other wrestling game, at least in the past 20 years or so. So why the hell not?
Well, by the way, do you have PlayStation Plus?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mean to be loud, but Fire Pro is on sale right now.
Oh, how much?
It is the core game.
Yeah.
15, 20.
Wow. It was 60 for a long time.
Listen, buy it now. They're having the Big in Japan sale. You can get the deluxe edition with all the moves and Fire Promoter for I think 30. No, not even $25. Right now is the time. Listen, like I said, if you're listening to this right now and you're interested in Fire Pro Wrestling, because I can make a whole fucking podcast about Fire Pro and how amazing it is, because that's probably. I was going to ask you guys a question, but I won't get into it because I think it's a little bit too difficult to think of off the top of your heads. But I was going to say, Fire Pro changed the way I looked at wrestling games. But let me just.
It definitely has already. Just playing.
I looked at wrestling games as well. It's kind of like in the scenes where Homer's smashing an orange in his alleyway. There's another way.
Exactly.
That's
Troy McClure.
been for me.
But I was going to ask a question. The thing is, it's kind of unfair because I had time to think about this. If you two had, and you can take your time because I feel like I've talked way fucking too much. But,
no, please.
Oh no, I hate how much I've talked. I feel like I've hijacked your whole show.
No, that's how guests work.
That's how their goal.
Yeah.
If you want to take a moment, I just want to ask you a very simple question. If there is a 10, not top 10 in order, but 10 wrestling games that you could say are essential, what would they be?
Oh,
I can name
okay, you go first.
I can name probably the main 5 Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth, Day of Reckoning. I'd say the TNA game, at least the first one, Smackdown vs. Raw 2012, 2010, Fire Pro, Virtua Pro Wrestling. It's about 8. That's about 8. It's about 8. I can't really think of anything else that's super important.
Oh, okay. Let's see. The first SmackDown game. Actually, maybe Know Your Role. And Here Comes the Pain. Yeah, that's a sequel. Here Comes the Pain.
Too, yes.
Yeah, so Here Comes the Pain, Know Your Role, WCW vs. NWO. Let's see. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Let's see. What else? Fire Pro 10. Wow. 10 is hard, but 5, that's 5. Those are the most important games I think people should play. Um, yeah.
I wrote down 10.
Okay.
Well, roughly, because some of these are package deals. My honorable mention is the Day of Reckoning series because it's like, god damn, no one talks about these games, especially the people who are super duper into WWE games. It's like they're so overlooked, and it's like, why? It was I don't know. It just blows my mind that Day of Reckoning isn't talked about much. But anyway, that's my honorable mentions. But like I said, this is in no particular order. SVR 2010-2011, insanely important because there was a steep decline with 08 and 09. I don't know if I think you would agree with me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some things about 08 I thought were really good. I felt like the different styles that they kind of clashed a little bit, but I love like when you play as like a hardcore guy, you could take the chair and like sit on somebody with it, and you can, if you're Jeff Hardy, you can sit the chair a certain way and like jump off it. I thought that was kind of cool, but
you can do like some of RVD's signature moves like in that game. Like it was very unique. Like 2008 and like I say 2012 and a little on. Like when you
the
like,
tournament mode was good.
Yeah. But like, more importantly, like all the characters acted the way, or they wrestled the way they would wrestle, and like in the later games.
Well, that was I think that's the one big positive about 08. But the thing was that it was restricting.
Yes.
Because you could also, like, for example, let's just say we had Rey Mysterio versus Kane. You're not going to beat Kane. You're not.
No.
Or most likely, unless you're like an expert at playing those types of games, you're just not going to beat them. But anyway, all right, let me continue. My honorable mention, Day of Reckoning. All right, SVR 2010-2011, because I think 2010 had great things. 2011 stripped back a lot of stuff about 2010, but the thing was that physics system, because it's like you could do a German suplex and coordinate it to where you throw them on the back of their head into a fucking into a chair that you set up in the corner of the ring, or the steel stairs or something like that.
I love that.
This is, like I said, in no particular order. SVR 07, insanely important in my opinion. I think 06 is more beloved because it still
GM
had...
mode.
Repeat that?
GM mode. I think that's why people like 06. I love 06. I think it's great. The roster is very, very good. You can play as a bunch of different Hulk Hogans, which is great. But SVR 7 is like where it just went to a whole nother level.
Wait, like, wasn't 07 the last game that Benoit was in?
It's the last game that Kurt Angle was in for a long time as well.
Huh, dang.
Well, until TNA, yeah. I put Smackdown 1 and 2. Like I said, package deal, because those games came out in the same year.
No, didn't Know Your Role came out a year later, 2000.
Smackdown 1, I believe, came out in 2000 as well.
I thought SmackDown 1 was 99.
Ooh, you might be right on that one. I'm talking about the calendar year.
Okay.
365 days, like within the 365
Right,
days.
right. Yes. Okay.
EWR, because of its uniqueness, it's one of those games where I think that if you're into, like I said, booking simulators, my God, I've clocked in so many hours on this game over the years. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. I love it to death. It's one of the best. It's one of, when it comes to just having fun out of wrestling, and it's something that a fan created, man, like, you have to appreciate what EWR is. And it's like, just when I describe what's happening to me to you, because I remember there's been times where we're watching a fucking Raw or something, and I'm like, fuck that. Like, I don't necessarily say fuck this, but I'll just open up my laptop and I'm gonna start booking some EWR shit while we're watching a horrible episode of Raw.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, God
Your
damn it, Triple
storylines
H
would
just
make more
walked out.
sense. Your storylines would make way more sense with what we'll be watching at the moment.
And
Like,
that's the core of what wrestling games are. Like, you just use your imagination. Like, I spent a lot of time in WWE 13's universe mode. I just made my whole storylines. I created my own characters. And in Parks and Recreations, there was a character that what's his name? Chris Pratt's character. He had an alter ego named Burt Macklin, and I thought his character was so interesting that I made him. I made him the top guy of Raw. So it's just imagination, and
there was an
everyone's their own
episode of
booker.
Scrubs. There was an episode of Scrubs I was watching where like the main character JD, he like parodied a wrestler, like a Macho Man like kind of character. It was perfect. He called himself the Intern, and I made him in 2K18 and 19, and it's like the best wrestler in the world. Like
That promo was better than a lot of promos today. That one promo that
Yeah.
JD cut as a wrestler, yeah. So
It was. It's unbelievable. Like it like that kind of like the wrestling games. Like whenever I watch something on TV, like obviously before AEW came out, or like before alternative companies that were like on TV, like all the time. Like whenever like storylines on TV would piss me off, I'm like, oh fuck this, I'm just gonna play the game and then like make my own storyline. That's like the importance of it. I think that's to that level. I appreciate the simulation games, like at least the ones that are fun, so I can have my alternative to what I didn't want to watch.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I'm saying, like something like EWR. It's not a traditional wrestling game by any means. It's just a booking simulator, and for me, I don't know. That was one of those games that just completely blew my mind. Like I said, I still play it to this day. It's pretty old at this point. Um, when you want to let your imagination just run wild, my God, it is just the perfect thing. It's a perfect game to
The
me.
game has a mind of its own,
Um,
if anything.
and it's a super. And like I said, to the listener, this is a very simple file. It's a small file. If you're interested, it's very easy to mod. I don't know how to mod anything. I'm trying to mod No Mercy on my computer. I still can't figure it out. For the love of God, do I want to get these No Mercy mods? Like, there's ECW mods. There's NWA, WCW, AEW. There's so many good mods for No Mercy. I can't figure it out. But EWR, all you got to do is copy and paste in a certain folder, and then you have new wrestlers, and it's not the year 2002 anymore. It's 2020, and you run whatever company you need. But anyway, I said SVR 2010 2011. I said SmackDown 1 and 2. EWR, Fire Pro Wrestling World, which is the one that I keep recommending. Probably the best Fire Pro game. At least the best one that I ever played. It's so in depth. It's so good. It's so addicting. And once again, if you like having your match rated, having a match in the 90th percentile or 100% good is such a satisfying feeling because it's kind of hard to do. You need to have a struggle in that match. You need to like be put up against the computer, and you need to have it fucking kick your ass and put you through something super serious. Anyway, Fire Pro World, I already said SmackDown vs. Raw 07. I think that was the SmackDown vs. Raw series perfected. Don't get me wrong, the first one in 06, they're perfect in their own way, in my opinion. I think SVR 1, I don't know if you disagree with this, but SVR 1 is kind of a drawback from Here Comes the Pain.
Oh
Here
no,
Comes
it
the
is.
Pain, in my opinion.
It is like
Yeah.
it is the first of its kind, but I did enjoy. There's something about Here Comes the Pain that I just like can't be recreated. It's never been recreated.
It just wasn't, to me, Here Comes the Pain was just more fun than SVR. I don't know, but anyway,
yeah, it was. Yeah, I think so.
The season mode was perfect in Here Comes the Pain. It was very like organic, like it kept going, like it had so many different situations that can't be recreated.
There was no talking. There was no. There was no commentary. Oh, it was brilliant.
That's the thing I hate about the 2K games now is the commentary. That's the first thing I shut off because it just reminds me.
I turn it off.
Oh, I can't do it. Like I love like in 2K19, like how like you can shut off the commentary, but you can keep on the referee and announcers' voices. Like in past games, like if you shut off the commentary, then you shut off voices. Period. Which I do like the referee and announcers' voices, but like not the commentary.
Next game, No Mercy. Already talked about it. Perfect. It's a toss up between this and WrestleMania. No, actually, no, it's not. No Mercy is better than WrestleMania 2000. No Mercy is a pillar for a lot of reasons. It's a cornerstone. Like I said, if you have an emulator, I can send you a quick link and you could play this game. Especially if you guys have a. Yeah, you said you have a PS4, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Just plug that shit into your computer and you're good to go. Anyway, perfect game, AKI engine once again. Here Comes the Pain. We just talked about it. Perfect game. To me, it perfected the SVR. It's not an SVR game, but it perfected that control scheme. It was just such a good game. Like, oh my god, did Here Comes the Pain break so many barriers, in my opinion. It made wrestling games so much easier to play and so much easier just pick up and sink your teeth into.
It was the first game where I saw like it taught me about a lot of wrestlers like Ultimo Dragon. Like as a kid, I'm like, oh, who the hell's Ultimo Dragon? Who's Brock Lesnar? Like who like it like introduced me to so many wrestlers that I enjoy watching today.
Sean O'Hare.
What a fucking. All right. I hate to get off topic. What a fucking talent Sean O'Hare was. It's such a shame that guy. He could have been such a big deal, but he died. I know. I don't want to say. I believe he committed suicide, but it's like Jesus Christ, could he have made money in this business? But anyway, Revenge. I have on here. Revenge is, like I said, the childhood favorite for me. I clocked in more hours. I'll get into the other game I clocked in more hours with. But, like, one of my favorite things about Revenge, you go to the story mode, you choose an undercard guy. I would always choose Raven. And you would just climb up the ranks. You would fight. You'd win the U.S. title. You'd win the tag titles. And eventually you'd face Hogan or whoever was the world champion. Goldberg, whoever it was. My God, was that good. Once again, the AKI engine. One more in the AKI engine. Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. Once again, if you want a quick link, I'll send it to you. I have the English translated version, so it'll be a lot easier to navigate through the menus. If you love All Japan in the 90s and in the 80s, that is the game to play. That game is perfect. I'm not kidding. On every level, the reversal system, the grapple system, the striking system, the satisfaction you have winning by knockout as Stan Hansen by giving someone a lariat. There isn't many things more satisfying in the wrestling world. Or giving someone a fucking what the hell is the Misawa Fisher? The Emerald Flosion. Playing as Kobashi, playing or Dangerous Kawada. It's so much fun to play that game. Playing as Hayabusa and Mike Awesome and just these fucking Japanese badass. I mean, well, Mike Awesome wasn't Japanese, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
These badass from All Japan and New Japan and FMW and you can unlock bootleg versions of Abdullah the Butcher and Brody, and it's like, oh my fucking god. Classic. But last one I'm gonna say is Shut Your Mouth, just for the simple fact that I think that for PlayStation 2 wrestling games, in my opinion, you're one side or the other. Like, some people are way more on the side of Here Comes the Pain. Here Comes the Pain's perfect, don't get me wrong. It is. It's fucking perfect. I don't think I can... Can you point out a flaw in Here Comes the Pain?
No.
No.
Not
really.
It's a perfect game. The only thing that's better to me is Shut Your Mouth. It had a better story mode, in my personal opinion, because you could do whatever the hell you want. You could walk around in the backstage. Like I said, you can find The Rock and say, "You smell like shit," and then he'll cut a promo on you and say, "I'll meet you in the ring," and then all of a sudden you have an issue with The Rock.
You
It's
can
like,
win so many belts and shut your mouth.
it was
Yo, yeah, I remember
exact.
you won like every belt. That was so hilarious. And wait, wasn't Hollywood in the game?
Yeah.
I believe so. I believe Hulk Hogan's definitely in the game. I don't know about Hollywood Hogan.
I think
Yeah,
Hollywood
Hollywood is in
Hulk
Shut Your
Hogan.
Mouth.
I was
Yeah.
pretty sure.
It is
Yeah.
That game I clocked so many hours into playing and you could steal the Undertaker's motorcycle
Yeah.
and ride it around the arena, like, just, oh my god.
That's incredible.
Wrestling video games have been so drained of personality since 2K came into the mix, because 2K is used to making sports games.
I don't even like the
And
2K sports games. Like NBA, those games are kind of boring. They're very boring.
I
They're
just
very
don't play them.
plain.
I just never. I've tried playing one. I fell asleep. I think it was the one of the baseball ones. I couldn't. I just couldn't do it.
am I allowed to quickly say be right back?
Oh, we're about to wrap up anyway. So, yeah, I guess we might just wrap it up now. So, this has been the Wrestling Caucus, and you can follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Wrestling Caucus, Twitter at Wrestling Caucus, but Instagram, Facebook is at the Wrestling Caucus. Subscribe anywhere you get podcasts. Elton, thank you so much for joining us once
Thank
again.
you so much for dropping all the knowledge. We appreciate it.
And since we're all inside, just go play some video games, I guess.
I feel guilty. I feel like I fucking hijacked your whole show.
No, it's the point. Like, we wanted to drop the knowledge, man. Like,
You're the guest. That's how it works.